Lunch is an important social occasion. Most of the time, colleagues sit together for a chat over a sandwich, or something more exciting like a warm meal at the university cafeteria. At some places, lunch break starts as early as 11:30. On busy days, people sometimes just grab a bite in the office. Today, Gru, John, Kari and Jacques have made it to the canteen. So, Kari, Gru tells me that you've been interviewing for a faculty position at another department.
Yeah, that's right. It would be really exciting if I did land the position, although it's my first time interviewing for a tenure job and I'm not confident I will get it.
I think you'd have a great chance. Is there a lot of competition?
Well, yes and no. 2 of the others shortlisted have better teaching profiles than mine. But I think that my research fits better with the department and they need someone with my competence.
That was something that really helped me when I got my faculty position last year. I spent a lot of time trying to understand the longer trajectory of the department, which was hard working from home in Holland. But I looked up the work that colleagues were doing and I brought it up in specific detail at the interview.
That must have been really hard without having met the people or even visited the department.
At least those things were easier for me. I had some chats over coffee with colleagues at the other department and even got some useful feedback after a mock interview with one of them.
I think the process makes it much easier to show your strengths if you already know the work environment at the department, but also in Norway more generally. I got some basic guidance about the process from the recruitment committee, but it really helped to speak with other researchers based in Norway, to know what I should expect.
Well, you were the first faculty member hired from abroad in quite some time at the department, so that's good on you. But what does it say about how open our system is to hiring the best talent out there?
Now that's a tricky question. I mean, how do you define best? In terms of track record or other qualities that a recruitment committee is able to assess better during interviews than, say, from a CV and publications?
Hi, my name is Kjersti Lohne and I'm Associate Professor at the University of Oslo, Department of Criminology and Sociology of Law. So, it's always difficult to define what best is, but I do think it's important to know that hiring processes in the higher education and research sector in Norway is quite formal and should be at least quite transparent. However, it is important to consider when applying to somewhere what kind of place you're applying to be aware of that, and especially concerning where they get their funding from. So for instance, if you're applying to a university, they might have a lot of basic funding, which means that scientific merits will most likely be their number one priority when doing recruitment. If you're applying to a research institute that gets a lot of their funding from external sources such as the Norwegian Research Council or the European Research Council, they might be a bit more narrow in terms of what they're interested in and what kind of profile they want to recruit, because they need to specialize in these research applications, for instance. So they might be filling in gaps. They might be. A third opportunity, I guess, would also be to apply for these research institute that more directly get funding from the Norwegian authorities, such as the defense sector or the police or so on. In that case, you as a researcher is filling or sort of delivering to some special needs from the public authorities. So that is also important then to be aware of when considering what is best.
I'm familiar with some academic cultures around the world, and it seems like there is a kind of feudal patronage network that works in them. And Norway is no exception. In that sense, you will have a mighty professor that picks someone as her or his protege. And then, they're going to either create a position for them or write a grant application with them. And do certain things to establish them in academia that they wouldn't do for everyone out there. the thing that ends up happening then is, this mighty professor person is most likely, it's base human nature that they would end up picking someone that looks like them. Now, when someone like me walks into academia, what are the chances that, an important professor in their 50s, male and white, is going to pick someone like me? Not many chances there. So I think that's what happens to a lot of outsiders, whether they are persons of color or, from working class in Norway or from the outside, from developing countries such as myself, that we don't get a lot of takers when it comes to finding patrons in Norwegian academia. And it's very hard to crack in then. Now, with grants, when the research councils come into play, let's say it's the Norwegian Research Council or the European Research Council, there is more of a level playing field. And of course, we can see that it's a neoliberal structure that creates hostilities and terrible competitive cultures among colleagues in a department. It also leads to unfair distribution of resources and all kinds of problems. But what I have seen for sure in my case is that it creates a level playing field. So if you cannot cut it in the old patronage network system, then the Research Council can create an opportunity for you to bring in a bunch of money to an employer and say that, hey, I'm good because Research Council says so, if no other older professor will say so. So my advice to other people like me would be, well, it's not great, but research councils are probably a good way to get into the system.